Scorpio and Taurus are literal opposites. Scorpio is the 8th sign in the Zodiac. Taurus is the 2nd. And these two signs are notoriously stubborn. They are incredibly stubborn, right? And that's mostly a word that someone from the outside looking in would use. Of course, like Taurus doesn't quite call it stubbornness. They just call it like, I'm right. And Scorpio doesn't call it stubbornness. They call it truth. Now, two signs that are opposite each other, there's always a potential to learn things, right? Because each of those signs has something that the other one lacks. And there's always going to be an inherent polarity. It's opposite. So there always is the potential for attraction between these signs. There's always some fascination. And opposite signs I do like romantically, or, compatibility wise. For certain signs, I do not like it for Scorpio and for Taurus. I think it is, and again, this is generalizing, but in most cases it doesn't work out. These two signs, I don't know what it is about each other, but there's just so much intense opinions they have of their opposite. And they may not even sometimes realize this, like sometimes they have really intense feelings toward another person and that person happens to have the opposite sign. I think that's pretty common. The thing with Scorpio and Taurus and why I don't think that it usually works is because Taurus lives very squarely in the material world. And I don't mean like material, like money per se. I mean that Taurus, and typical for an earth sign, they're very focused on what they can touch, what is front and center, what people are talking about, what is going on in the world, current events, the news. They're very interested in things that can be proven or disproven. They are scientists, objectivists. They usually take a pretty specific position on things. Like they'll take a label, they'll say, I'm this political view, or I'm this ideology, or like this is my religion, or whatever. They like their boxes and their categories. And the strength of Taurus people is that they are so unbothered by what they are unbothered by, right? They can kind of put that stuff aside. So when they decide what it is they want, they are insanely good at manifesting it. They just do it, right? There's none of this self-consciousness. There's none of this fear of judgment. There's no fear of loss or suspiciousness. They just do things. And they tend to be very open people. A lot of the people that I know with strong Taurus energy are very social. You see the Venusian qualities come out. They're very good at just connecting with people right away, just kind of on basic things. So they have a lot of different friends, and generally, they bring pretty good vibes for the most part. The thing about Scorpio is that they take an approach where these things like boxes and labels and thinking about things just in terms of what can be touched and what can be walked on. For Scorpio, they know that is not the whole story, or they think it's not the whole story, or they live their lives in a way where if they didn't consider this other stuff, life would be kind of meaningless. So Scorpios they're a lot more spiritual, or they're into things that are hidden, or they want to challenge consensus narratives. Scorpios are not always so interested in these kind of pendulum dichotomous arguments that go on in the world, like, are you free will or determinism, or are you Republican or Democrat, or for Scorpio, they're just they kind of see they're trying to look into different dimensions, and they're very much about understanding and transformation and cycles of rebirth and death and all these kind of intense but hard to touch concepts. And for Taurus, it's just dude, what the hell are you talking about? What? You are an idiot. And it's kind of funny because both signs, when they really don't like the other sign, or they don't like someone on the other sign, they both are so gung-ho that these people just fundamentally don't get it or are idiots or are just missing something. And what's actually kind of remarkable is that each of these signs, if they just took a little bit of the opposite, took a little bit from each other, they would be even more powerhouses individually. So in theory, like if a couple could get together with these two signs, like it could be awesome. But they're too different, right? Scorpio, again, the intense emotionality and the intense feelings and thoughts and these kind of long-winded feelings. For Taurus, it's just like hard for them to kind of see, right? I can't see it all in the side mirror. Like you got to condense it. Whereas Aries with Scorpio, Aries kind of respects that intensity, even if they don't totally understand it. Taurus is more, I would say, just annoyed by it, or they just, yeah. And Scorpio is going to feel similarly, right, towards Taurus. They are just going to be they're going to feel a little bit choked. Maybe that's not a good word. They're going to feel a little bit choked by the fact that Taurus never kind of wants to look into the stars, right? They never want to descend more into the spiritual realm. Now, again, this is a little bit of a generalization. It depends on the rest of the chart. If there's other things in the chart that support this connection, what I will say about these two is that they are incredibly loyal to each other because they do typically, they're both good at accomplishing things that they set their mind to. That's typically why with these signs, with these two in particular, it's usually like, and this is typical with opposite signs, it's kind of all or nothing, right? There's either like a really incredible, powerful relationship that's made here with a lot of devotion and a lot of commitment, or it's just kind of just total detest for each other and it never really gets off the ground.